And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn. Today, we're talking about PanelView 5310 and 5510s, which will include a demonstration of the PanelView in-studio 5000 View Designer. My name is Leanne Ireland, and I'm the Corporate Marketing Project Manager here at McNaughton-McKay Electric Company. Presenting for us today is Doug Pelton, PLC Product Manager from our Charlotte, North Carolina branch. Out in the comment section, ready to answer your questions, is Hubert Wall, Automation Specialist for McNaughton-McKay in our Charlotte location as well. We'll also have a Q&A portion at the end for Doug to answer your questions in more depth. We'll be getting started shortly, but we would like to allow a few minutes for attendees to join us. As you come in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. As we continue to socially distance, we're happy to be able to host these live sessions on YouTube, making it possible for you to be able to join us from the comfort and safety of your own homes and offices. You can view recordings of previous virtual Lunch and Learns on our YouTube channel under the Virtual Lunch and Learn playlist. And we will be continuing this series every Wednesday at noon, so be sure to join us on your lunch break. For anyone just joining us, welcome to our Virtual Lunch and Learn, PanelView 5310 and 5510s, which will include a demonstration of the PanelView in Studio 5000 View Designer. Let us know where you're joining us from in the comments. Hey, Justin from Tiffin and John from Norris, South Carolina. We have people I see from India and Israel. That's great. Our special, we'll be looking for questions as you have them in the comments while our presenter, Doug Pelton, does an introduction to the PanelView 5000 series of operator interfaces, as well as a product overview of the PanelView 5310 and 5510. Our specialist, Hubert Wall, will do his best to respond to your questions in the comments as we go along. And we'll also have a Q&A segment at the end of Doug's presentation to address some of those questions in more depth and to allow some time for any follow-up questions you might have. If you'd like to reach out afterward, or if you have further questions for Doug, you can send us an email at macandmaclive@mc-mc.com. That's macandmaclive@mc-mc.com. Be sure to let us know which session you attended, and we'll direct your questions to Doug. We'll have the email address on the screen for you at the end as well. It looks like we have quite a few attendees now, so let's get started. Doug, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, thanks, Leanne. Can you hear me?
You sound great.
Okay. Hi. So as Leanne said, my name is Doug. I'm an electrical engineer with McNaughton-McKay, and I work out of the Charlotte, North Carolina office. Again, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit today about the PanelView 5000 family of operator interfaces and a little bit about View Designer software as well. My goal here is to get you familiar with the product and some of its features. I also want to respect everybody's time, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. So today, during the presentation, we're going to talk a little bit about the PanelView 5000 graphic terminal features. I'd like to talk a little bit over Studio 5000 View Designer software features, how to increase productivity with Studio 5000 View Designer for some people who are power users of FactoryTalk View ME. This is going to look a little bit different for you, so I'd like to show you that. We'll talk about how to enhance integration using Studio 5000 View Designer and And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll compare the two products in the family. We'll do a little comparison between the 5310 and the 5510. So we'll get rolling. And again, if there's any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment section. And one of my counterparts, Hubert Wall, will be over there answering questions in the comments. And we can also go over those at the end of the presentation. So what is the PanelView 5000 HMI? It's the newest operator interface that is linked with Logix for Logix integration. So there's no more Factory Talk View ME on this project. Everything is done in Studio 5000 and View Designer. If you work in Studio 5000 now, even if you've not seen this product, you have seen the software. It's been bundled with Studio 5000 with version 28. It's compatible with version 27 on, and it's been bundled with version 28 on. In the software, you create applications for logic controllers, so it's, and your PanelView and your PanelView 5000. So it's a single software package to program both environments now. There are some new widescreen options, very nice, sleek new panel bezel design. And there's two products in the line. The PanelView 5310 is what you'd use for a smaller application. The PanelView 5510 is more of a high performance application with a faster processor, etc. We'll talk over that here shortly. So we're going to talk about the features of the family. First, the 5510. You can see the sizes on the screen. They have 3 widescreen sizes now, but there's a 7 wide, a 9 wide. The 9 is new to the family. A 10, a 12 wide, a 15, and a 19-inch screen. The 19-inch screen is new to the family as well. Rockwell has never offered a 19-inch on-machine type HMI in the past. 1.46 gigahertz dual-core processor, pretty fast. This would be V4 or newer Studio 5000. We're on V6 now with hopefully a V7 coming within the next couple of months. Again, this is bundled with your Studio 5000 software already, or you can download that off of the Rockwell Automation compatibility and download center. This is compatible with a device level ring, so you can drop this into a device level ring network architecture, and it's DC powered. PanelView 5310, a little bit different for smaller and mid-size applications. Has the same core features as the PanelView 5510, not as many options on the sizes. So we do have a 6-inch, a 7 wide, a 9 wide, a 10, and a 12 wide. 1.46 gigahertz processor. Again, this runs version 4 and newer of Studio 5000 View Designer. One difference here is there's a single port Ethernet on this device. There is not an option for device level ring on this device. So the navigation on the 5510 and the 5310 now is a little bit different. What this slide is showing you, the Project Explorer is what you would see inside of the View Designer software as you're integrating your program. This down here on the actual screen itself is the navigation pane that pops up. If you can see the button on the bottom of the 5510 right there, that pops up a navigation screen. What's nice about this navigation screen is that it's done for you automatically. As you add screens into your program, they're populated onto this by itself. So you no longer have to do a navigation screen. You don't have to do navigation, adding, taking away, putting that on every screen. It's already there and done for you. However, if you do not want them on there, they're very easy. It's just a shortcut that you remove from the menu bar, and you're done with that. Again, that's all done for you within View Designer software. On the 5310 and the 5510, you'll see there's a default system banner with notifications, alarms, screen navigation, active user, and the date and time. This is another graphics that's already done for you. Obviously, you can see that this one has been just a little bit modified with the Super Juice logo. You can, you know, if you're an integrator, an OEM, you can put your customer's logo in there. You can modify that however you like. However, the defaults are there for you. You can take those away if you like. You can get rid of the log on button, for instance. You can, you know, but the banner is already done. So that's something else that you don't have to worry about. I do want to kind of point your attention here to the bottom. This is a 5310. You'll notice that that menu push button is not available on the 5310, the hardware push button. It is, however, in the software. There are advanced diagnostics included with the project, and these are, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you see the network controllers, the HMI device. These are screens that are already done. You don't have to do anything at all, and I like the advanced diagnostics because you can, as an end user, look at these devices and say, well, okay, what's my device name? You know, if you're looking at this on a network, you might not know. You can get your IP address off the network. You can go ahead and see catalog number, the firmware of your version, how many hours you're running, what's the CPU temperature, network diagnostic, controller diagnostic. So what controller am I talking to? All of that's available, and these are all done for you. During your programming phase, if you look to the left side of the window, when you go ahead and emulate this project or download this project, or your project rather, onto a piece of hardware, and you get the red X pops up, it's going to tell you why. In this instance right here, you know, it's looking, you know, at a L75 named SFAOI SEFE. It's telling you that there is no tag out there to talk to that particular device. So that sort of helps you along on your debug. Take a minute and talk about the Studio 5000 View Designer features. There's still several people that have not seen this. Scalable vector graphics, that's a very big deal. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. The intuitive design environment, I will talk about that a little bit. I'll show you that. And optimized logics integration. Why is that a big deal? Well, now you're not pulling from two separate databases. You're fully integrated with the Logix tag database. We'll talk about that as well. So this is the new design environment. Looks a little bit different than FactoryTalk View ME, obviously. Over on the right-hand side, this is your properties pane, which makes it very, very nice to configure anything on the screen, whatever has focus. So you can see on this slide that this tank right here has focus at the moment. So all of the properties for this tank, you know, animations, events, everything is going to be in this properties pane. If you want to change the color, if you want to change the size, if you want to change where it is on the screen, if you want to change tag binding, which would affect, you know, say tank fill level or animation for the agitator, everything is done right here. It's simple. There's no searching for that. The Project Explorer is the structure of your project. So as I mentioned before, these screens are going to be what's included on your pop-up screen selection. There are user-defined screens and system-based screens. That's all going to be laid out in the Project Explorer window. Down here on the left, your searchable toolbox. These are all pre-built elements. So if you're looking for buttons and switches or general equipment like conveyors or things like that, that's all done. Everything is right there, and there is a new library of very high performance graphics. The canvas area, this just emulates exactly what your screen is going to look like. I'm sure anybody who's done any HMI program is very familiar with that. And then the graphics explorer, again, whatever has, so this tank right here has focus, and what's happening is you see that the main tank group is highlighted there. So whatever is combined in that element is going to be down there. So let's talk a minute about how to increase some productivity using View Designer. So we talked a minute ago, about scalable graphics. The graphics now in View Designer 5000 and PanelView 5000 series are true vector scalable graphics. So what does that mean to you as an end user, you as an OEM or an integrator? You configure one program, and let's say you've done that on a 7 or in this case a 10-inch screen. If you've done this before, you know what happens. So you have a internal or an external customer that has a 10-inch panel view, and they said, you know, at the other end of our line, we'd really like to have a 19-inch panel view down there. Well, when you go ahead and try to scale those graphics from a 10-inch to a 19-inch, they never scale correctly, and everything sort of goes wonky on the screen. With the View Designer product now, they're true vector scalable graphics. So whatever you do in a 7 or a 10 or a 9-inch screen, you can go ahead and drop that program into a 15 or a 19, and it's going to look exactly like it does in the other screen. Everything is going to come out correctly. That is especially important in the process industry, where there's a lot of piping and pumps and valves that never seem to quite line up the way that they should. So that decreases your integration time and increases your productivity. We did talk a little bit a moment ago about the new high performance graphics. There's 1,000, 1,500 pre-built graphics in here. There's embedded animation and behavior, and you can link graphical objects to controller objects. And they're much, if you look at the difference between the typical HMI and the PanelView 5510, they're much more high performance, crisp, clear, and several more attributes. Reusable add-on graphics. So now you can go ahead and make an add-on graphic for yourself. I mean, you will also be able to download these from the Rockwell Compatibility and Download Center. These would have been called faceplates in Factory Talk View ME and SE. They're add-on graphics now, or they're more of a global graphic. So you can create your own toolbox of elements and reuse those across projects. So if you have let's say a graphic of a motor starter pop-up, a hand off auto start stop, you create that one time, and then you can propagate that across your program just by changing the tags. The other nice thing about that is with an add-on graphic, if you need to make a change in the add-on graphic, you do that one time, and then that propagates itself across every add-on graphic that you've used in your program. And why would that be necessary? Well, let's say you had a valve, and when the valve is open, it's green. When it's closed, it's red. And that's great for the process industry. However, if you took that same valve and wanted to use that, let's say for a utility, a wastewater plant, they generally want it to be the other way. They want their valve to be green when it's closed. They look at that as a safe state, and red when it's open, and then on transition, they want it to be yellow. So you can go ahead and change that right in the add-on graphic and not have to rebuild that. So extended tag properties. So there's no redundant entries, right? So with extended tag properties, you are pulling that directly from the controller database. If you want to use something as a level.high or a level.high or a timer.done or a timer.any, whatever that extended tag property is, you can now map that right into your HMI without creating any other tag structures. Everything in this HMI, all of the tags are pulled directly from the PLC. One database. And multi-version support. So now you can run multiple versions of Studio 5000 and View Designer side by side on your machine. They will automatically launch the correct version of Studio 5000 View Designer when a file is clicked. So if you have a project, my project, that VPD, which is the file extension for View Designer, you double click that, it pops it right open for you instead of searching through it in Studio 5000. you choose the desired version for your new projects, which we'll show you that here in a little bit. And there's now a built-in conversion of projects. So if you have a version that was created in 2.x as it shows here, or 3 or 4, and you want to convert that over to 6, that will do that automatically now, which is much better than the way it used to be. So we'll just leave that at that. But that's a great addition to the family now. Talk about data logging here for a minute. You can log and display historical data along a trend. You can trend up to 250 tags that'll be logged in a circular file, and you can store this on an SD card or export it to a USB drive as a CSV file. The 5310 has 1 USB port, 5510 has 2. We'll go over that hardware levels here at the what's included in each at the end of the presentation. So you can, as it says here, new data logs. There's a new data log folder. It supports 3 different logs for different tags and rates. And tags can be logged at 500 milliseconds, as fast as we can log a tag. And you can configure different tags for different sample rates as well. So historical trending, when you are trending, if there is no real-time data to show, it will show you on your trend historical data. But if there is real-time available, it'll show you while that's happening, so you can see what's happening in real time. And as we talked before, you can do different time spans. Emulator. This is something that we want to spend just a minute talking about. With the emulator, you can test run your projects without downloading to a physical PanelView. The first couple versions, there was not an emulator available. What does that mean for you? You can begin your program and actually test your program before you ever have a piece of hardware. So if you're on one of these projects that's 26 weeks long, you really don't want to have hardware sitting around for half a year. You want to wait to order that out until you're ready to build your panels. With that, you can go ahead and use the product emulator. It has a skin, matches the PanelView. It's going to look exactly like the PanelView, only on your computer screen. As long as you have a PLC to test with, you can do real-time, real-world testing right from your PC. Including the keypad buttons if you're to use something like with the skin. You just tell the project which one you're using, which PanelView you're using in your project. The VNC support. So we've always been able to VNC with our PanelViews, or our PanelView Plus 7s, PanelView Plus 6s. Now this is a little bit different. This is done right within the PanelView itself. You download. You can VNC from PanelView to PanelView, or you can VNC from your PC or tablet or a cell phone. You just download whatever VNC. Usually you can get a free one off the internet. I use Type VNC, and it's worked with every Rockwell product I've ever tried it with. So that's a little tip for you there. So you can display or control a PanelView 5000 from anywhere, as long as you have a VNC connection. You can, if you look at the window here under VNC server, you can see that it's either disabled, enabled with read only, and enabled with full control. I caution you on that to never, ever, ever enable something with control that you can't see. If you don't have a direct line of sight to a motor, don't let somebody turn that motor on. But this is it's very simple to set up. It's just a matter of clicking the radio buttons and having VNC. A VNC software on whatever you're using. So if you have a production manager that's walking through the plant and wants to see throughput numbers on a machine off of a PanelView, you can just put that right on his phone, and he can VNC right over to, as long as he's on the plant network, he can look right at his cell phone or on his tablet and get whatever information he wants. So it's that simple. Loading from removable media. This does sort of bring up another issue. If you're very familiar with factory talk view ME, then you know there are two file types that have to be maintained. There's a development file and there's a runtime file. Now with View 5000, there is the VPD file that you see here. So you can you only have to maintain one file. And now if you have let's say a problem at a remote location, you know, a customer or another plant, you could go ahead and drop an SD card in the mail, send it over to them, they plug it in, and it'll load right from the card, and you're up and running. There is a whether an SD card or from a USB device, you can do either one. It will ask you when you load the application what you want to do, but that's the only interaction that you have to have with the device itself is choosing where it loads from. So that's very easy to take care of. And again, with version control, there's only one file type associated with the project. Talk about a little bit about how to enhance integration within View Designer software. So now with Logix-based alarms that started in version 31, alarms report in a timestamp order. So it doesn't matter if there's communication lost between the PLC and the HMI. All of the alarms will be time-stamped. All the alarms will be time-stamped in the PLC. So there is no, so the alarm is time-stamped when the alarm happens. There is no worry about a lag in the you don't have to worry about network latency between the PLC and the HMI. So that's great. Also with tag-based alarming, it sort of eliminates the ALM-A and ALM-D blocks. You can just basically take a tag and make that tag an alarm. You have a level, you have that level dot high or that level dot high. You want to make that alarm, you tell it it's an alarm, and that's all done in Logix. All of those Logix-based alarms run in the background. They take up no bandwidth on the processor whatsoever. Language switching is now a little bit easier. So any language that is supported, any language that's supported on the HMI, and there's several, you just use a language switching command in the project. It'll also switch. This is really incredible. It'll switch strings from the logic. So if you have a string or an alarm message in the controller, not in the HMI, but in the controller, so that controller is sending a string in English, and you want to change that to Mandarin Chinese, it does that automatically. There's no database that has to be populated with the alternate language. So the high-speed push button control, I did want to take a minute and talk about this. This is something new. The high-speed push button control, what this does is in Logic Designer, it allows the controller to communicate. It allows communication between the controller and the device over a high-speed I/O connection. So what does that mean? So you program a high-speed push button in the controller, and it goes in your I/O tree. And then when you configure that push button in the HMI, it's actually seen as an I/O connection. So it's no longer looked at. It's not a it eliminates any latency in the network is what I'm trying to say. And where this comes in handy is it takes priority, right? So it's going to be I/O, so it's the first thing that the controller sees. So if you've ever done a project where you are trying to move, let's say, a servo, and you have a jog forward and jog reverse button on the HMI, and you hit that jog forward button, and then a couple of seconds later, the servo starts to jog, and then you release the button, and then a second later, the servo stops. Same thing going backwards, or if you have a mission critical valve that you need to open or close, you would use this HMI, this high-speed HMI button control for something like that. And the Logix controller supports 256 instances of the high-speed push button. So it's something to think about in, motion applications, maybe conveyance applications, projects of that nature. Okay, so let's see, that went a little bit longer than I planned on going, but We'll talk a little bit about the comparison between the two products. We did talk about the sizes on the PanelView, the 5310, the differences between the 5310 and the 5510. Operator input, the 5310 is touch only. If you need keypad and navigation, well, the navigation button is included on the 5510, but you can configure part numbers with a keypad for the 5510 only. I/O, there's one USB port, one USB host and one USB device programming port on the 5310, and two USB hosts on the 5510. We did talk a little bit about the single versus dual Ethernet ports. It's a single port only on the 5310, and you can do a DLR on the device level ring on the 5510. What are the limits? With 5310, you can communicate with one controller. You can program 100 screens. That's 100 different graphic displays, and 1,000 alarms, up to 1,000 alarms. With the 5510, you can communicate up to 4 controllers, still 100 screens, but 4,000 alarms. So you could basically break that out as to, you know, a total of 1,000 per controller, or it is a limit though. They both support the Logix tag-based alarms that I talked about a few moments ago. And right now, these are the controllers and the versions of Studio 5000 that they support. So if you have a 5570, you can, if you're in Studio 5000 version 27 and up, with a 5580, 29 and up, and sort of the same things down here. With a 5370, it's 27 and up, the high performance controller 29 and up, and the new 5480, which has an integrated PC, you're going to be using version 31 and higher. There are document viewers, PDF viewers on both products. The terminal emulator, which we discussed, is for both products. VNC connectivity is a feature that both products have. Real-time and historical trending, data logging, faceplates. We talked faceplates. That's more of a add-on graphic that we talked about here just a little while ago. And that's about it for the presentation, for the product presentation. I'd like to take just a minute to hop over to show you what it looks like to create a new project. And the reason that I want to do this is probably the most phone calls that I get, and some of the Rockwell Automation tech support guys that I've talked to, people with using FactoryTalk View ME, they have the biggest problem they have is setting up communications between their PLC and their HMI. So when you're setting up a new project, if you're using versions now of 27 or 28 or greater, you've already seen when you create a new project. So I opened up an instance of Studio 5000. I want to create a new project. When you do that now, you've noticed, I'm sure, that you can open up a FactoryTalk View project, you can create a Logix project or a View project. You may not have done it, but you can create it. So when you select that, you go in and select which piece of hardware you want to use. So let's say in ours we want a 12.1, the wide. We're going to go to version 6, okay, and we're going to give it a name. And we'll just call this VLL for our virtual lunch and learn. And then we'll finish that. Once that's done, that's going to go ahead and create the project. And when the project is created, it will open up that palette that I showed you a little while ago. Here it is. And then it's going to open up another window with a wizard, basically, to say, okay, who are you talking to on the application? What we're going to do is we're going to set up our communications right here. And this is quite honestly, this is how fast it is. So we'll say, okay, our controller's name is, we're going to call the reference my control Logix, for instance. Okay. that's just the reference name. That's not the controller name. But let's say, where does our project sit on our drive? So I'm going to look over here and go under my projects, and I'm going to say, okay, well, I have a demo. I'm going to look. This is the PLC that I want to use. Okay, so that creates the path. Now the HMI to controller path. We're going to make that. That's going to be the controller is 192.168 1.20, and our slot. This controller is a pardon me. This controller is a compact logic, so it's going to be direct. But if it was a control logics, you would pick the slot of where your where your Ethernet gateway is. Emulator path is going to be the same. What that means is whether you're running a hard HMI or you're using an emulator, you're going to go ahead and use that same path. And I'm going to click apply, and then what's going to happen is if I want to create another reference, because this is a 5510, so I can talk to 4 controllers, I can go ahead and create another instance right there. So I can do that 4 times. And that is all there is to setting up the communications between your HMI and your PLC. There's some other wizards right here. We're not going to go through that right now, but that is all I have. So if we have some questions that we need to address, we can do that now.
Thank you, Doug. We do have a few questions. We have a few questions here that we're going to cover, and we want to thank everyone for tuning in today. So Doug, Hubert was doing a good job. Tim had a bunch of questions, and I'm going to try and go through those, and then you can see if you have anything to add. Okay? Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, he says that there's 3 different panel programming environments. One for PanelView component and one for PanelView Plus, like Factory Talk View Studio, and this one for the PanelView 5000. And I typed those in your chat so you can see those. And Hubert said you can. He answered yes to his question. Do you have anything to expand on there?
No. Well, yeah. There's the statement is, or the question. The statement is correct. There are 3 right now. There's also some legacy software that's not really, we don't really support that hardware anymore. But and then there's also Factory Talk View SE. But what he's talking about specifically is on-machine PanelView type products. So yes, with the component product, it's Connected Components Workbench. PanelView Plus 6s and PanelView Plus 7 is Factory Talk View ME, and then it's Studio 5000 View Designer for the PanelView 5000. That's correct.
And then he followed up with, can you design for VNC and see only certain screens?
Let's see, only certain screens. No. Once you VNC into the entire application. However, you can password protect the application, and you can password protect from the VNC side. You can force a password. So basically, when you log on with VNC, not everybody can see that. You'd have to give your user a unique password.
Okay. And I think you answered this when you said this. He said, what version of Studio 5000 has the new functionality that you were showing in the demo?
So version 28, it's compatible with version 27 and it was included starting with version 28. So if you have 27, you would have to go on to the Product Compatibility and Download Center and download View Designer as an add-in for Studio 5000. If you have 28 or newer, it would be included.
Okay, great.
But it is, make sure that I say that correctly, it is compatible with version 27 on.
And Tim, if you have other questions, you can email us at macandmaclive@mc-mc.com and let us know that it's about this Lunch and Learn, and I'll get those questions to Doug and he'll get back with you. We do have one other question for you, Doug, and it comes from Jack. He said, what happens if one person is writing the PLC program and one is doing the HMI program? How would you combine these together?
Well, you would, well, so that would, the only way that you would be able to do that is if you have two licenses of Studio 5000. So one person would be on their PC programming in Logix Designer, and one person would be on another PC with another license for the software programming the HMI. So at the end, you could put you could both be, if you had a hardware PLC, you could both communicate to that PLC at the same time. If you don't, you would have to share, he would have to export his tag database and give it to the person that was doing the programming for the HMI. At the end of the day, when you're done, you're downloading to two separate pieces of hardware. So that would be transparent to the programmer.
Do we have any other questions out there? Okay. Thank you, Doug and Hubert, for being for your presentation today, Doug, and Hubert for our resource out in the content sections. We had a lot of activity today, which was great. Thank you to all our live viewers today, and we hope this session was informative and engaging for you. Remember to subscribe to the McNaughton-McKay YouTube channel for more industry content, and we look forward to seeing you live again next week when Stuart Newton and Gino Porter talk about motor control design. Thank you so much for your participation, and we hope you have a great day.